Good afternoon,
So how
sir.
about
Am I
now?
audible?
Can you hear me now?
Dr. Ashraf.
Sir, am I audible now?
Nothing. I'm not able to hear anything from you.
Sir, we are able to hear all three of you.
Check. Yes, when the sometime just start this and go. That's it. Yeah.
Sir, others are able
No,
to
not
hear
at
me.
all. You ask somebody to talk.
Okay. Sir. Sir, am I audible now?
A very good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for gathering here on time.
I'm not able to hear anything.
We'll be starting the session soon.
I hope you are hearing me.
May I please request our dignitaries
Yes,
to
sir.
please
Yes,
come onto
not
the
at all.
stage.
I'm not hearing.
Please
any
give them
of
a
it.
huge round of applause. We welcome
Nidhi,
all of you.
please give him a call
to
on normal phone call and explain to him that you're all audible to each other and maybe a rejoining would help. No message.
Yes, sir. Sir, but he's not picking. He's not answering his phone. I don't think he's checking his phone. That's why. Because I did that.
Hello.
Hello? Hello, sir? Sir?
I'm not hearing anything from you. I leave and join a meeting? Okay.
Informed, sir. I've informed him.
Okay, Nidhi. Got it.
Sir, am I audible to you now? Hello? Hello, sir?
Are you able to hear me
Sir,
now?
am I audible to you now?
You are able
We
to
are
hear
able
me?
to hear you.
But I am not able to hear you. Not even a single word.
Okay. I'm not really sure what to do
Maybe
because
others
all
can
of us.
talk. You ask others to talk whether I am able to hear.
Sir, Ashraf sir also spoke in between. Were you able to hear
I'm not
him?
able to hear anything at all.
Sir, we are able to hear you, sir. Sir, we are able to hear you clearly.
There's a network problem from your side. Here everything is fine. You ask Ashraf or somebody to talk. From your machine, no sound is coming.
Okay, sir. Noted. Noted.
Hello. Good afternoon. Yes, yes, yes. No, nothing volume. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Volume. No, there is no microphone. I never use microphone. Yes, every day I'm delivering lectures. One. Anyhow, I'll call my technical assistant and let me wait. Yeah, please come. The voice is not going. It's not coming from them. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Now you talk.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah. There is something else. This guy, when he connected, he made it. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Before he comes,
Nidhi,
before
that's
the
perfectly fine, sir.
I identified that something he must have done wrong.
Thank you, sir.
That's why
So let's start, sir.
every day I'm talking, there's no problem. But I don't know
Yeah.
suddenly. This guy has connected and gone immediately.
Right.
This thing,
Right.
he made it mute of the whole computer speaker, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good,
sure.
sir.
Please.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Nidhi,
Good
go ahead.
morning, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, all the faculties. Good afternoon to all the participants. A hearty welcome to all to the International Conference of Invisible Infrastructures 2025 to another keynote session. It is my privilege and my pleasure to introduce Dr. S. Madheswaran, a distinguished development economist and econometrician whose contributions span academia, public policy, and institutional leadership. Dr. Madheswaran currently serves as an advisor at Jain University and visiting professor at Institute for Human Development, New Delhi. He is also a consultant with the Development Center at ICRI-SAT, bringing his expertise to critical issues in rural development and applied research. Dr. Madheswaran has served as the RBI chair professor and later as the professor and head of the Center for Economic Studies and Policy at the Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore. He also has served as the institution's director, contributing significantly to its academic and policy influence. Dr. Madheswaran has served as a member of the State Planning and Policy Commission of the Government of Karnataka, economic advisor in the Department of Planning, Program Monitoring and Statistics, and Chief Evaluation Officer at Karnataka Evaluation and Monitoring Authority. He also has served as the Vice Chancellor at Gandhigram Rural University, further extending his impact on higher education. As a prolific researcher, his work spans labor economics, health, education, and applied econometrics, and he has advised various national and international institutions. In recognition of his outstanding contributions, he was also honored with the prestigious Kempegowda Award. He currently serves as the Vice President of the truly privileged to have such an eminent scholar and policy expert with us today, sir. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Dr. S. Madheswaran. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Is where you're able to see my slide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we are.
Okay. This is next slide is what? How to go to the next slide? No, it's not going. Okay. It's already shared. Like this, huh? Okay, fine. So, good afternoon to everybody. The fraternity of VIT, the Vice Chancellor, and the Dean, and all the dignitaries of VIT, and especially Dr. Ashraf and Nidhi, who has requested me to give a talk on caste and caste-based exclusion in the digital space in India. Of course, it's a very interesting topic. Of course, caste-based exclusion that we have seen a lot of work in labor economics now. It started from sociology and anthropology, and also a lot of empirical modeling has been done and given an evidence base that there is a caste-based exclusion. But nevertheless, now the era of AI and the digital world, then what is the situation of this caste-based exclusion in the digital space in India? And how this caste-based exclusion in the digital space creates a new frontiers of inequality. That is the topic in which Ashraf has requested me to deliver a kind of a lead speech. But due to paucity of time, I don't want to go in detail, because in detail there are a lot of evidences, a lot of data and everything, which I will cut short because how many minutes I can take? 45 minutes? Nidhi? Or
Yes, sir. You can take 45 minutes, sir.
right.
Not an issue.
Fine. So let me talk about the background. That is nothing but the digital promise and the social reality. When I talk about digital promise and the social reality, I want to introduce and contextualize this topic for the researchers and to do further research. You see, in India, we are entering into 21st century, and we all have seen the digital revolution as an equalizer. That means the digital revolution as a transformative force that could transcend barriers of caste, class, and geography. We thought that the digital revolution would transcend barriers of caste, class, and geography, but today let us look at it very deeply, whether this Digital India initiative launched in 2015 was hailed as a landmark step towards inclusive growth. But today, let us see that whether we achieved inclusive growth after the introduction of the Digital India. Of course, this initiative by the government, Digital India, has promised universal access to information, digital literacy, e-governance, and employment opportunities through technology. So you can see that there are a lot of smartphones, broadband, and digital payments that to become the new vehicles of empowerment for the poorest and the most marginalized citizens. However, this promise coexists with a persistent paradox. That is a issue in which that we are going to talk about it. The digital sphere, it reflects the digital sphere in the sense that from your, put it in a very ordinary parlance, from access to platforms, skills, and algorithmic visibility, and so on and so forth. That's what I call it as digital sphere. It reflects and reproduces the same hierarchy that structure Indian society offline. Whatever the kind of a social gradient of inequality, the social gradient of the hierarchy, whatever we are seeing in the offline, again, after introduction of the digital sphere, still we are quite often we are feeling it, and there are a lot of evidences. Caste, one of the most enduring axes of inequality that all of you know, which continues to shape who participate in the digital economy, whose voices are amplified online, and who remains invisible in data, platform, and policy making. Far from eroding caste hierarchy, the digital revolution has in many cases reconfigured them into new and more complex forms. So, given this background, in this whatever the keynote address, what we explored is this paradox, what I said. Then we trace how caste operates within the emerging digital ecosystem. That means from access to technology and education to online representation, algorithmic bias, and labor relations in the gig economy. Now you are seeing the gig economy is coming quite often, unless otherwise you have the digital literacy, that you will not be a gig worker. Because we have seen formal and informal sector worker. Within the informal, after this COVID, the gig worker. There's no employer-employee relationship. At the platform and the algorithm guides the employees to do the service. Otherwise, they call it as a gig worker. Anyhow, it argues digital exclusion is not merely a matter of connectivity, but of structural and epistemic inequality. I want to call it as. So addressing this requires an intersectional approach that integrates technology policy with social justice, ethics, and inclusive governance. When you want to talk about the kind of a the kind of a structural and epistemic inequality, we need a coordination approach or intersectional approach, as I said, integrates technology policy with social justice, ethics, and inclusive governance. Otherwise, if these are all watertight compartments, we will not be able to see the light of the day. So, given this digital promise and the social reality, let me talk about caste. This is the second point, caste in the age of digital transformation. What is the caste in the age of digital transformation? There are a couple of points which I would like to talk about in this topic. The first one is the historical continuum of exclusion. Second is digital divide as a caste divide. So the first point, when we look at it, all of you know the caste-based exclusion in India is historically operated through social segregation, occupational hierarchy, and restricted access to resources such as all factors of production, such as land, education, and public spaces. Now, the colonial modernity and post-independence democracy altered this form, but did not dismantle them. Of course, even in this industrial age, exclusion manifested in the access to jobs, markets, and institutions. Now, in the digital age, exclusion manifests in the control of data, algorithms, and digital capital. Of course, we have to remember Dr. Ambedkar, he envisioned that technology and education is a tool of social liberation. That's what in his writing you could observe, that he emphasized that technology and education as a tools of social liberation. But yet, digital access in India is profoundly shaped by pre-existing social hierarchies. Suppose if you want to see the evidence, if you look at the 78th round of National Sample Survey, 2022-23 data, it reveals that over 73% of upper caste households have internet access. This figure drops to 47% for other backward classes and 33% for scheduled caste, and only 28% for scheduled tribe. And further, rural SC/ST household lag further behind, with barely 1 in 5 owning a smartphone or having a stable connectivity in their villages. So this what this story is saying, that there is a historical continuum of exclusion. That's what I just wanted to portray it. The second point is that digital divide as a caste divide. When you say this, the digital divide in India cannot be reduced to a technical problem of infrastructure. It reflects deep social inequalities embedded in the distribution of income, education, language, and social capital. Access to technology requires not only devices, but also digital literacy, trust, and cultural legitimacy. If you look at, there are two studies very recently done by Center for Internet and Society at Oxford Internet Institute in 2021. These studies indicate that Dalits and the Adivasis experience higher level of digital exclusion due to lack of exposure, discriminatory pedagogy, and the social marginality of English language in the internet spaces. So this digital exclusion operates in 3 concentric layers. What is that digital exclusion operates in 3 concentric layers? One is access exclusion. Second is capability exclusion. Third is representation exclusion. What is access? Access exclusion is limited or unequal access to devices, networks, and electricity. Capability exclusion is nothing but differential ability to use digital tools for education, governance, and livelihood. Representation exclusion is nothing but invisibility or misrepresentation in online content, platform, and algorithms. So these 3 exclusion, these 3 layers map directly onto India's caste hierarchy. Upper caste dominate digital production and employment, while Dalit and Adivasi community remain users or consumers at the origin. These are all from the existing studies. So that's what, when I talk about caste in the age of digital transformation, we have to trace the historical continuum of exclusion. And of course, even in this digital age, there is a continuum of exclusion. Of course, when we discussed about digital divide as a caste divide, and there we have discussed that 3 concentric layers: access exclusion, capability exclusion, and representation exclusion. So given this background, let me talk about digital access and the caste-based inequality. And within this topic, I would like to emphasize 3 points. One is infrastructure inequality, and second is education technology nexus, and third is language and cultural exclusion. So the foundation of digital inclusion lies in the physical infrastructure, that nothing but whatever you say, broadband, electricity, and devices, and so on and so forth. Yet these infrastructures are unevenly distributed. Of course, all of you know that there is an authority called TRAI in 2024. That's nothing but that what they call Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. 24 notes that broadband penetration in urban areas exceeds 80%, while in rural India it remains below 40%. Within rural areas, SC/ST dominant villages are least connected. It is not that I am saying, even the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India data saying in 2024, very recent data. This infrastructural marginality reinforces educational and occupational disadvantage. That's what I say. The infrastructural inequality is one of the main things to talk about the digital access and caste-based inequality. Let me talk about the education technology nexus within this. Of course, digital education is often portrayed as a panacea for inequality. Now, during this COVID-19 pandemic, revealed that the stark caste-based digital divide in learning studies by learning. Of course, when I say that the COVID-19 pandemic revealed the stark caste-based digital divide in learning, I would like to quote two studies. One is UNICEF in 2021 and the Oxfam India 2022, so that during school closures, only 19% of SC and 30% of the ST students has access to digital device at home, compared to 64% among upper caste children. Dalit and Adivasi students face not just technological barrier, but also limited social cultural one, which I mean limited parental education, language mismatches, and the absence of digital pedagogical support. So for many, online education widened rather than bridged learning gaps. The third part within the caste-based digital access and caste-based inequality, language and cultural exclusion. You know that in India, the dominance of English in digital content reproduces sometime in our cultural hierarchies. There are a lot of the story behind it, but I don't want to get into that story too much. So most of the Dalit scholars and activists have repeatedly argued that India's digital archive suffers from epistemic bias. Epistemic bias, that means privileging dominant narratives while marginalizing subaltern knowledge. As a result, caste operates not only as a social barrier, but also an epistemological filter in the digital public sphere. So now let us move on to caste in the digital economy, the fourth point. Here again, let me talk about, there are 3 points within which I would like to connect the previous one. The platform economy and the invisible labor, data capitalism and ownership. There are 2 points which I would like to mention. What is the platform economy? I just mentioned that your platform economy now, you are seeing Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, this urban company employs millions of gig workers. This is all through through algorithm connected, and they give job. On the surface, these platforms appear caste neutral. If you ask that on the surface, these platforms appear caste neutral. Algorithms match workers to customers by passing traditional hierarchy. There are some ethnographic research by International Labour Organization, and there is a researcher called Nanda 2023. They have revealed that caste continues to shape who becomes a delivery worker, driver, or service provider. So Dalits and OBCs are disproportionately represented in low-paying, insecure gig work, while managerial and technical roles are dominant by the upper caste employees. This is what we call it as, on the surface, these platforms appear caste neutral, but this ILO study and Nanda's 2023 study has given a great evidence of this. This digital stratification mirrors the occupational hierarchy of the informal sector. Dalit and the Adivasis supply the invisible labor that sustains the convenience of the urban middle class. Algorithms may not ask a worker's caste, but they reproduce inequality through data proxies. That means geography, language, and user ratings. Workers from lower status localities often receive fewer or low-rated orders, a pattern scholars term algorithmic casteism. Now, the scholars, the scholars from ILO and Nanda, they call it as, this is called algorithmic casteism. So The data capitalism thrives on data extraction. In India's platform economy, user and worker data are controlled by corporations, not communities. And of course, your Dalit and Adivasi users contribute data, but rarely control or benefit from it. Moreover, data infrastructure are dominated by upper caste technocrats. This data asymmetric parallels earlier control over land or knowledge, just as a caste determined who could own land or read scriptures. It now says who owns and interprets data. This is the situation that the caste in the digital economy has come into the picture. Now, algorithmic bias and digital discrimination. What is this algorithmic bias which leads to new phase of inequality? Now, all of you know that this artificial intelligence system rely on historical data that often reflect social prejudice. That means when trained on biased data set, algorithms reproduce casteist and patriarchal stereotypes. Studies by AI Observatory India, there is a Artificial Intelligence Observatory India in 2023, very recent study, found that job recommendation algorithms systematically disadvantaged applicants with surnames associated with Dalit or Muslim identities. And this reminds me that the former UGC chairman, Professor Thorat, and myself, we have done some audit study. The same thing that we send out the application for each and every advertisement for the MNC, putting the Dalit surname, Muslim surname, and the uppercase surname. Of course, we found that only 16% is the call rate for the interview for the Dalit applicant. Of course, we have created many counterfactual CV. What is that? In the sense that we produce a fake CV for that advertisement. The surname of self-driver Muslim with the upper caste surname. We create a equal experience, equal education, and sometimes we'll put more education, more experience for the Dalit and marginalized group, and less education, less experience for the upper caste people, and vice versa. We do a lot of combination. We'll send out to this industry, private industry, and out of 4,000 applications we have submitted, we have got only 16 out of 4,000, only 16% of the call rate. Call rate itself is an outcome that you could see there is a discrimination in the hiring practices, though they will not ask your caste. The same way in AI Observatory India in 2023, they also found the job recommendation algorithm systematically disadvantaged applicants with surname associated with Dalit or Muslim identity. Similarly, facial recognition system exhibited higher error rates for darker skin and low caste users. Algorithm basic automates discrimination without explicit intent. It turns structural inequality into coded inequality, I call it as, because algorithms are often opaque. Algorithms are opaque in the sense it's a black box, and which detecting and contesting bias is difficult, especially for marginalized users lacking digital literacy or legal resources. Now, the platform moderation and speech suppression. When I talk about platform moderation and speech suppression under algorithmic bias and digital discrimination, caste-based hate speech remains rampant on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Dalit activities frequently face trolling, harassment, doxing when they raise issues of caste violence or social justice. Platform moderation system often calibrated to Western categories of race and hate, fail to recognize caste-based abuse. As a result, hate speech against Dalit and the Adivasis is under-policed, while their counter-speech, especially political assertive content, is more likely to be flagged or taken down. So I just again, when I say this, always I have searched for some papers to give some evidence for the evidence for the researchers. Now, a study by Equality Lab in 2020 found that 60% of Dalits surveyed had experienced caste-based abuse on social media, while less than 10% reported satisfactory action by platform. So this digital public sphere thus reproduces the social segregation of the physical world, replacing untouchability with digital silence. With all these things, then it boils down to the political economy of digital governance. Of course, when you say political economy of digital governance, you know that e-governance and bureaucratic bias in the government. Of course, e-governance platforms were designed to make administration transparent and citizen-friendly. For example, Aadhaar-based welfare system require biometric verification that frequently fails for manual laborers, many of whom belong to SC/ST community. When authentication fails, beneficiaries are denied food rations or pension, a digital echo of the old system gatekeeping. So this digital grievance redressal system presupposes literacy, connectivity, and bureaucratic awareness. Most of the Dalit and the Adivasis often lack the resources to navigate this system. Without social intermediaries, they remain excluded from very platforms intended to empower them. So most of the scholars have described this phenomena as, very beautifully they describe this phenomena as digital bureaucratization of exclusion. The digital bureaucratization of exclusion is the connotation which comes from the very recent study of the Inequality Lab. And smart cities and digital urbanization. When you say that Indian smart city mission embodies the dream of technological efficient governance. And what is happening is that most of the Dalit settlements and informal neighborhoods are frequently labeled encroachments, justifying their exclusion from development plans. Thus, the smart city can become a digitally fortified city where technology enforces rather than dismantles social segregation. And well, saying that there is a lot of representation, voice, and digital culture. The rise of Dalit digital publics, that is nothing but your Dalit digital activism, operates under continuous surveillance and trolling. The state's response to online dissent has often been punitive, with disproportionate targeting of Dalit and minority activities under cybercrime laws. The struggle for digital representation thus mirrors the historical struggle for physical and political representation. And then cultural production and algorithmic visibility within the representation, voice, and digital culture is on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. These are all the platforms all of you know. This content and visibility is governed by engagement algorithm. The system tends to privilege mainstream or commercially viable content, marginalizing alternative voices. So most of the Dalit musicians, poets, filmmakers face the double challenge of limited production resources and algorithmic invisibility. Even when they produce critically acclaimed work, the platform recommendation system failed to amplify due to low initial engagement. So the digital culture, far from being a meritocracy, becomes a new arena of symbolic exclusion. And I'm sorry. And well, talking about all these things, gender is very important. There is a caste, gender, and intersectionality in digital exclusion. Of course, intersectionality is very, very important. Dalit and the Adivasi woman in the digital economy. When we look at it, most of this Dalit and Adivasi women experience multiple layers of exclusion as women, as members of marginalized caste, and as the workers in the informal sector. Their participation in digital workforce remains extremely low. Social norms restricting their mobility and technology use further deepen the gap. Surveys by Planning International, there is an institute and agency called Planning International. In 2023, they found that only 17% of the Dalit girls in rural India reported using the internet independently compared to 58% of the upper caste girls. When they do enter digital spaces, Dalit women face heightened vulnerability to online harassment and caste abuse. The lack of effective redressal mechanism discourages participation. So this gender digital divide underscores that technology alone cannot dismantle social barriers without transformative cultural and institutional change. Unless we have the transformative cultural and institutional change, the digital the technology alone cannot dismantle the social barriers. And there is a intersectional identities. Digital space have provided visibility to secure Dalit and Bahujan voices that were historically erased from both mainstream and caste reform discourses. There are a lot of archived documents on intersectional experience and marginalization. The absence of caste-sensitive algorithm moderation exposes these users to target the hate speech and online violence. Thus, intersectional inclusion demands not only representation but also as an algorithmic care, the ethical responsibility of platforms to protect vulnerable users. Then finally, last but one is the policy and ethical imperatives for inclusive digital future. I'll take another 5 minutes to complete my talk. And the policy and ethical imperatives for an inclusive digital future, I can suggest some 4 important policy measures. I don't want to dwell more. One is from access to justice. That means rethinking digital inclusion. How to rethinking digital inclusion is caste-sensitive digital literacy program in local languages, community internet center in Dalit Adivasi areas, integration of social exclusion indicator into Digital India framework, mandating disaggregated data collection on digital access by caste and gender. Second policy and ethical imperative is policy implication which I would like to throw up is ethical artificial intelligence and algorithmic accountability. When I say this, India urgently need a regulatory framework for algorithmic fairness. Of course, we don't have such kind of a regulatory framework for algorithmic fairness, but the platform must conduct algorithmic audit to identify caste and gender biases. AI system also should be governed by data ethics characters, emphasizing transparency, diversity in training data, and explainability. So the proposed Digital India Act, of course, all of you know that there is a 2025. There is a proposed Digital India Act. It must incorporate anti-discrimination provision ensuring equal digital right regardless of caste, religion, or region. The third is inclusive digital governance. What is that inclusive digital government? What I mean to say is that governance platforms should adopt user-centered design. That means multilingual interfaces, simplified grievance system, and community facilitators. So the local government can institutionalize a digital social justice committee involving civil society, technologists, and Dalit organizations to monitor equity in digital access and usage. Because over the period of time that we are coming to the digital world, so we need a digital social justice committee involving civil society, technology, and Dalit organizations to monitor equity in digital access and usage. And final policy imperatives which I would like to throw upon here is marketizing data ownership. To counter data colonialism, India must move toward community data ownership. This means recognizing data generated by citizens as a shared public good governed by participatory institutions. Cooperative data models, open data repositories, and social indicators and public interest algorithms can empower marginalized groups to produce and interpret data about themselves. What I mean that very recently, I have my own, I don't want to tell the department name. I asked, it's a very confidential because I have sent out a very recent, I mean, critics about certain department of the state. See, when you ask what is the expenditure towards education in the particular department, let's say social welfare department or a minority department, they're not able to say very clearly how much money is apportioned properly to education, and that to the competence of education. And they don't have granular data right from taluk, from village to taluk to district or something else. So each, suppose if you ask, if you look at the web, each newspaper has different information about the allocation of education by these departments. So that's what I say, that the algorithms can empower marginalized group to produce and interpret data themselves. If you have a data, granular data on the website, of course, data is very powerful for the democracy or democratization of the ownership. That means you get a transparency, accountability, and better governance. Data is meant for that, the granular level data. Anyhow, I don't want to talk too much about this Dalit Bahujan vision of digital justice, because very recently they were talking about reclaiming technology as a liberation, reimagining digital citizenship, and the moral imperative. But this, to the time constraint, I don't want to dwell much about this Dalit Bahujan mission of digital justice. But there are three parts in such a way that the digital citizenship must go beyond connectivity to ensure recognition, representation, and rights. So that's what they are saying, reclaiming technology as a liberation and reimagining digital citizenship and moral imperative. Let me conclude by saying, from digital divide to dignity, digital dignity. And caste and digital technology are often imagined as a belonging to different epochs. One is ancient, that caste, then this digital technology is a modern. One is ancient, the other is modern. Yet, as we have discussed, we have seen they are deeply intertwined. The algorithm that shape our feeds, the codes that determine visibility, and the data that define governance are all inscribed with the logic of social hierarchy. The digital sphere does not erase caste, it encodes it. I want to say it does not erase caste, it encodes it. To build an inclusive digital future, India must move from digital divide to digital dignity. This requires dismantling the invisible architectures of exclusion that underlie our technologies. So, the inclusion must be measured not merely by the number of connections, but by the fairness of algorithm, the diversity of the digital creators, and the empowerment of historically silenced. So, while concluding, I would like to emphasize that technology alone will not create justice, but justice can shape technology. The task before policymakers, academicians, technologists, and the citizen is to ensure that India's digital transformation becomes not another chapter in the history of inequality, but a new beginning. That means it should be a new beginning where every individual, regardless of caste, has the right to connect, to create, and to be heard. So with this, I complete. I stop my lecture by saying thanks to Mr. Arif and the organizers from VIT. Of course, I don't have a lot of slides, the evidence slides, which I'm not able to create because of my lot of preoccupations and various meetings amidst of this. I could not create many slides on, yes, an evidence for the each subtopic. Thank you very much. It's a quite interesting topic. Of course, it's an interesting topic for the development economist in the sense that we know that the inequality, the inequality in India, normally he categorized as it's a durable inequality. This durable inequality consists of resource inequality, capability inequality, and the existential inequality. Of course, we, the development economists, the social scientists, we have been working on these inequalities and the connection between resource, capability, and existential. But another form of inequality should not happen. This inequality should be minimized by using what we call by the new digital act and the new digital space in India, so that we as when India becomes a powerful country, will show that the inequality is less, which contributes to the economic growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Oh, a person with your experience and expert can only, explain such complex concepts into digestible parts and cover it all within just 45 minutes. So thank you so much.
Yeah, any question for the people? So this is the new era for the researchers to work on. So
Yes,
more the research comes in, and unless the more research comes in, the policymakers won't think, because they believe that it is a caste neutral. But you could see the kind of evidences which I had given, even including your Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, NSS data, UNICEF and Oxfam data, and also ILO data, and also that the India is trying to bring the the act, the Digital Transformation Act. So many researchers, they work in this area, and maybe they'll be able to influence the policies, and thereby you can do the mid-course policy correction or mid-course act correction. Otherwise, it'll become a neutral. So the infrastructure barrier and digital literacy barrier, again, which manifest, again, which will create a lot of inequality. As such, we are living with the social inequality, the social gradient of inequality, which should be avoided in the forthcoming digital space.
Right, sir. Right. We all agree with you, sir. And participants, the floor is open for any questions. Any questions? You can even put it in the chat box. Sir, I had a doubt actually. I had a question to ask.
Yeah, please.
So since you've done so much research in this field, I wanted to know what, from the research perspective, what are the most understudied topics right now, and what needs attention when we talk about gender, caste in digital spaces.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to talk about what is that? What is the digital promise by India now? Okay, so you have to start with your historical evolution of the inequality, and of course we have a lot of policies and the programs and the schemes. Even then, the inequality persists, and particularly there is a discrimination against the caste or a discrimination against female, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that this is the social reality which we have found, and we have been reading from the research. What is this digital promise? Is that really is a panacea to reduce this inequality? That's how you have to put a deep question and explore this paradox, so that you can, as a researcher, you can trace how caste operates within the emerging digital ecosystem. That means, when I say emerging from digital ecosystem, means you have to look at it from access to technology and education to online representation, and what kind of algorithmic bias and what kind of labor relations in the gig economy. You look at the gig economy, gig worker, I'm seeing that means they don't ask for a cash, but if you ask the aggregators, let us say Uber has aggregators, Ola has an aggregator. One of my IAS officer is working on gig economy with me for PhD. He is working on that, but it's the first time he's doing a great survey in Bangalore. And we have put a lot of questions on the caste itself. Of course, the workers had come out with their own caste and everything. But the thing is that how this labor relations in the gig economy, you have to look at that. Is the caste matter and gender matter? And of course, you can argue that if something is there, this digital exclusion is not merely a matter of connectivity, but of structural and epistemic inequality. You can work on epistemic inequality rather than simple inequality. So you need a lot of intersectional approach to deal this problem. That means you have to integrate technology policy, and you have to integrate social justice, ethics, and inclusive governance. Then you will be able to talk about what kind of a digital promise and the social reality.
So we also have another question in the chat box.
Yeah.
How do you think AI and algorithms show caste bias? As you know, the evolution was being pretty scary. Do we have to be concerned?
Yeah, that see this. See, AI is created by the man. Do you think that it is created on their own? AI created on its own? He's not like Shiva, Lord Shiva. You don't know who is the Papa and Mama for Lord Shiva. The same way that if you ask algorithm, of course, we can say that it's created by the human being. It's not like Shiva. AI is not like a Shiva or a Vishnu or some god. So artificial intelligence system is created by the human being. But this artificial system rely on historical data that often reflect social prejudices. Most of the historical data that often reflect social prejudices, when trained on biased data set, algorithm reproduce casteist and this patriarchal stereotype. That is what, if somebody is interested, you please read on study has come out, published by AI, Artificial Intelligence Observatory India. It is a 2023 study. They found that job recommendation algorithms systematically disadvantaged applicants with surnames associated with Dalit or Muslim identities. So this is how, what I said is we have done a audit study that called it as audit study that we have done long back in 2007. The same thing is based on the surname. So the employer will ask for a queries from AI. It will produce, but the thing is that there is a surname in it. So unless otherwise we abolish this surname, we will not be able to stop the discrimination in the job hiring practices. So once you know the surname, I bring back the great Nobel Prize winner. He got a Nobel Prize for application of microeconomics to human behavior. He's the first man to write the theory of discrimination. Is Gary S. Becker. The Gary S. Becker always says that there is a taste for discrimination. Once the taste for discrimination comes from the prejudice, it is a subjective. So you won't know that I'm sitting in the interview board, but the moment I come to know you belong to this, you are a gender, I have my own taste to discriminate you. That's called taste for discrimination or the prejudice. So in this case, that unless otherwise the surname is abolished, that we will end up with a kind of a prejudice too much, even if the surname is this thing. Again, there is intersectionality, as you have told. The females in the labor market, in the sense that in total, on an average, the female as such is little discriminated further as a Adivasi or Dalit woman. Further, it's a double disadvantage. At least if they abolish this surname business, at least one disadvantage will go. Slowly, this discrimination or inequality of women against others will be reduced.
Right, sir. Very well explained, sir. Thank you so much. And Tanmeshri, I hope this answers your question. This clarifies your doubt. Ashraf, sir, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how appropriate it fit in, but then since you are talking about data, policy, algorithm, and I know we are running short of time also. My question is like, I largely predominantly worked in public finance, gender budget per se. And one of the data observation that I do when it comes to public finance and associated data, be it in terms of beneficiary, in terms of classification, in terms of benefit incidence, we are kind of perpetuating what exists already. Like if the beneficiary is women, then there is a pink stereotype benefits that are going to women. If it is coming from scheduled caste, tribe, then there is a stereotypical way that they are funded. And when it comes to science, technology, digitalization, or anything which we are debating today, it is almost forgone. Like there is nothing towards it except some capital infrastructure as a part of big institution or so. So aren't we also doing policies to make the digital divide further?
So of course, what I'm saying is that when you talk about this digital divide, you call it a digital space. I don't want to call it as divide. Why should we talk about divide? Digital space. When the digital space, unless otherwise, we have the granular level data. I mean, disaggregated level data. We will not be able to see the promise of this digital space in India. That's what. In any, whether you take a gender budgeting or a child budgeting, doesn't matter. You have category A, category B, and category C in your one budget. I mean, gender budget. Am I right? So, category A is a very notional one, right? And
Yeah.
category B, something each department they try to apportion 33% of the budget and so on.
Yeah.
The thing is that the gender budget, when they are doing whatever maybe the state, is my own experience is that without having proper granular level data with the digitization, and these data are excluded in the digital space, that again what I call it as undermining the gender budget. So this is how you have to connect it. So most of the gender budgeting is not properly accounted. It's all the nominal, the way of saying the category A and category B, but most of the department, they must have given the granular, disaggregated level data. So in the digital promise, you have to create a space, digital space of collecting information right from the village, taluk, and the district and the state. It should come. Otherwise, you can't give justice to gender or caste or religion, whatever you call it. I want to say that minority department, I'm now saying they don't have any data. I don't know. I'm very surprising that how they allocate money, how they monitor, how they evaluate. Nothing. Recently, I looked at the government data. I wrote back to give a suggestion to the department how the department should act.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ashraf, sir. So since we are running out of time, we will quickly move to vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Sir, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to speak on such an important but equally sensitive topic with the care that it deserves. So we are very grateful for the way you addressed each question and each query very patiently. And I believe I can speak for everyone here when I say that your experience, your expertise, and with the clarity that you spoke and shared your insights have truly inspired us. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for contributing to this session.
Yeah.
And lastly, I would like to thank all the participants who joined and contributed meaningfully to this session as well. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I'll get back to you off screen. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Participants, you can now start leaving the session. Thank you.